What happens when Donald Trump crashes Barack Obama's live town hall only to be silenced by one line? Not a shout, not an insult, just one sentence. And yet that sentence was enough to shake the room, to shift the energy, to silence the President of the United States live on national television. No one saw it coming, but once it happened, you couldn't look away, and neither could the country. It began like any other town hall, a Tuesday night in Phoenix, Arizona. The city was quiet, the air still, the skyline lit with golden light from the desert sun. Inside the Phoenix Convention Center, the atmosphere was calm, even hopeful. A former President, Barack Obama, was back in the public eye speaking to ordinary Americans face to face. No teleprompters, no campaign slogans, just a conversation. The stage was simple: 2 armchairs, a small table, 2 glasses of water. The audience was a cross-section of America. Teachers, veterans, college students, retirees. Some wore Obama-era campaign shirts, faded but proud. Others came just to hear him speak again. Obama looked relaxed, his jacket unbuttoned, his tie loose but not sloppy. He looked like a man comfortable in the moment. The moderator began with an easy question. When you look at the state of democracy right now, what worries you most? Obama leaned back, pausing just long enough to draw the audience in. I worry, he said slowly, that we've started to confuse performance with leadership. The room nodded. Quiet applause. Measured, not explosive, he continued. We've got politicians who think trending on social media means they're doing the job. But leadership isn't about likes or retweets. It's about whether people's lives are better because of your decisions. More applause, this time louder. For the next 40 minutes, Obama spoke with that steady rhythm. He talked about the importance of voting rights, the dangers of misinformation, why listening, really listening to people outside your bubble, still matters. The tone was reflective, thoughtful. A quiet strength filled the room. The crowd wasn't electrified. They were engaged. They were leaning in, listening, and then, just as the moderator was about to ask the next question, everything changed. A white card was slipped onto the stage. The moderator's eyes darted across the page. His expression tightened. He adjusted his glasses and leaned toward the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, we have something unusual. We've just received word that President Trump has called into the broadcast. Gasps, murmurs. One man near the back groaned audibly, "You gotta be kidding me." But it wasn't a joke. Seconds later, Trump's voice came over the speakers. Harsh, unfiltered, no prep, no plan, just a volume. Barack, I had to call in. This is a disgrace. You're sitting there talking about democracy when under your watch we lost jobs, lost factories, lost our strength. He wasn't just offering a rebuttal. He was hijacking the moment, making it a fight. Under me, we had the best economy in history. People know it. The world knows it. We were winning. The audience shifted. Some crossed their arms. Others shook their heads. A few even clapped because this was America, and every room has more than one opinion. Obama sat still. He didn't flinch, didn't interrupt. He simply leaned back, crossed his legs, and waited. And then he said with that unmistakable calm, "Well, looks like we've got company tonight." Laughter, nervous, surprised. But the message was clear. Obama wasn't rattled. Trump kept going. "You didn't do anything good, Barack. Everybody knows it. I fixed your mess. I brought jobs back. I rebuilt the military. I stood up to China. You didn't do that." And still, Obama waited. And when he finally responded, he didn't raise his voice. He didn't go blow for blow. Instead, he said something simple, something cutting, something that would define the night. Mr. President, I think the American people are less interested in who shouts the loudest and more interested in who actually tells them the truth. The room erupted, not just with applause, but with something deeper: relief, recognition, respect. For a moment, it wasn't about politics. It was about tone. It was about character. It was about leadership. Trump tried to push through. He shouted about rallies, polls, numbers. People love me because I fight. That's why I won. You talk, I win. And then, as if delivering the punch he thought would end the night, he said, "I'm in the Oval Office, Barack." "You're not." Obama leaned forward again, his voice even lower than before. "You're right," he said. "You won an election. That happens in a democracy. But winning doesn't mean you stop listening to the people who didn't vote for you. It doesn't mean you spend every day attacking your critics. The presidency isn't a trophy, it's a job." Applause again, not just for the words, but for the contrast. Because in that moment, Trump was performing and Obama was leading, and yet Trump wasn't done. He fired back louder, angrier. "You're jealous. I brought the country back. You gave speeches. I gave results. Look at the rallies. Look at the crowds. Everyone's with me." Obama sat still. He waited for Trump to run out of fuel. Then he delivered the line. Not with a grin, not with a smirk, just with quiet confidence. "Mr. President, when you have to keep telling people you're winning, it usually means you're losing where it matters most." The crowd froze, then it exploded. Applause, shouts, a standing ovation, a moment so sharp, so surgical, that Trump visibly rattled, fumbled to respond. That's nonsense. People know I'm winning." But no one was listening because the moment had already moved on and the internet had already caught fire. Within minutes, the clip was trending across every platform: TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, filled with reactions, side-by-side memes. Trump shouting, Obama sipping water, captions like volume versus substance, the calm and the chaos. It wasn't just about who was right. It was about who looked like a leader, who stayed in control, who made people feel safe. Parents showed it to their kids. Teachers used it in class. Pastors quoted it in sermons because whether you agreed politically or not, you couldn't deny the power of composure. And that's what stuck. Not just the words, but how they were said. In barbershops and coffee shops, people kept replaying the clip. A retired mechanic in Detroit slapped his knee and said, "That's how you shut somebody down with class." A waitress in Ohio smiled as truck drivers argued over breakfast. One said, "Trump had the numbers." Another replied, "Yeah, but Obama had the moment." And in classrooms, young people discussed it, not as a debate, but as a life lesson. One high schooler said, "Sometimes you don't have to yell back. You just have to say the truth and let it stand." That's what made the moment timeless. It wasn't just a political win, it was a reminder that in a world of noise, calm still wins. That in a sea of shouting, truth still cuts through. Obama didn't prepare for this moment. He didn't script it. He just knew who he was. And in the face of chaos, he didn't flinch. He stayed steady. He stayed calm. He told the truth. So ask yourself, when someone tries to throw you off balance, will you meet their chaos with more chaos? Or will you stay calm and let the truth speak for itself? Because real strength doesn't need volume. It just needs composure. And in the end, that's what silenced the noise. And maybe that's the real takeaway. In a world where shouting gets rewarded, where volume so often replaces value, where ego so often drowns out empathy. One moment reminded us that composure isn't weakness, it's strength. That truth doesn't need a spotlight. It just needs to be spoken clearly, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay calm, stay steady, and speak with purpose. So, if that message resonates with you, if you believe we need more moments like this, not just in politics, but in everyday life, then I'd love for you to stick around. Hit that like button if this made you think. Subscribe if you want more stories that go deeper than the headlines. And turn on notifications so you don't miss the next conversation. Because this isn't just about politics, it's about people, leadership, and how we show up when it matters most. Thanks for watching, and more importantly, thanks for thinking. I'll see you in the next